Most modern snowmobiles are powered by either a 4 or 2-stroke internal combustion engine, with the exception of the Taiga TS2. Historically, snowmobiles have always used 2-stroke engines because of their reduced complexity, weight and cost, compared to a similarly powered 4-stroke. However, 4-stroke powered snowmobiles have been gaining popularity steadily in the last 15 or so years, with manufacturer Yamaha producing 4-stroke snowmobiles only. The Whistler Blackcomb Ski Resort is testing Taiga's electric snowmobiles with lower noise, and similar vehicles exist. A snowmobile, also known as a ski-doo, snowmachine, sled, motor sledge, skimobile, or snow scooter, is a motorized vehicle designed for winter travel and recreation on snow. It is designed to be operated on snow and ice and does not require a road or trail, but most are driven on open terrain or trails. Snowmobiling is a sport that many people have taken on as a serious hobby. Older snowmobiles could generally accommodate 2 people. However, most snowmobiles manufactured since the 1990s have been designed to only accommodate 1 person. Snowmobiles built with the ability to accommodate 2 people are referred to as 2-up. Snowmobiles are touring models and make up an extremely small share of the market. Most snowmobiles do not have any enclosures, except for a windshield, and their engines normally drive a continuous track at the rear. Skis at the front provide directional control. Early snowmobiles used simple rubber tracks, but modern snowmobiles' tracks are usually made of a Kevlar composite construction. The earliest snowmobiles were powered by readily available industrial 4-stroke, air-cooled engines. These would quickly be replaced by lighter and more powerful 2-stroke gasoline internal combustion engines, and since the mid-2000s 4-stroke engines had re-entered the market. The second half of the 20th century saw the rise of recreational snowmobiling, whose riders are called snowmobilers, sledders, or slednecks. Recreational riding is known as snowcross racing, trail riding, freestyle, boondocking, ditchbanging and grass drags. In the summertime, snowmobilers can drag race on grass, asphalt strips, or even across water. Snowmobiles are sometimes modified to compete in long-distance off-road races. The origin of the snowmobile is not the work of any one inventor but more a process of advances in engines for the propulsion of vehicles and supporting devices over snow. It parallels the development of the automobile and later aviation, often inventors using the same components for a different use. Wisconsinites experimented with over-snow vehicles before 1900, experimenting with bicycles equipped with runners and gripping fins, steam-propelled sleighs, and later, Model T Fords converted with rear tractor treads and skis in front. A patent for the sled propeller design, without a model, was submitted on September 5, 1895 by inventors William J. Coleman and William B. Follis of Brule, Wisconsin. In the first races held near 3 Lakes in 1926, 104 of these snow buggies started. Carl Eliasson of Saner developed the prototype of the modern snowmobile in the 1920s when he mounted a 2-cylinder motorcycle engine on a long sled, steered it with skis under the front, and propelled it with single, endless track. Eliasson made 40 snowmobiles, patented in 1927. Upon receiving an order for 200 from Finland, he sold his patent to the FWD Company of Clintonville. They made 300 for military use, then transferred the patent to a Canadian subsidiary. The American motor sleigh was a short-lived novelty vehicle produced in Boston in 1905. Designed for travel on snow, it consisted of a sleigh body mounted on a framework that held an engine, a drive shaft system, and runners. Although considered an interesting novelty, sales were low and production ceased in 1906. The Aerosani, propeller-driven and running on skis, was built in 1909-1910 by Russian inventor Igor Sikorsky of helicopter fame. Aerosanis were used by the Soviet Red Army during the Winter War and World War II. There is some dispute over whether Aerosanis count as snowmobiles because they were not propelled by tracks. Adolf Kagres designed an original Caterpillar tracks system, called the Kagres track, while working for Tsar Nicholas II of Russia between 1906 and 1916. These used a flexible belt rather than interlocking metal segments and could be fitted to a conventional car or truck to turn it into a half-track, suitable for use over soft ground, including snow. Conventional front wheels and steering were used, but the wheel could be fitted with skis as seen in the upper right image. He applied it to several cars in the Royal Garage, including Rolls-Royce cars and Packard trucks. Although this was not a snowmobile, it is an ancestor of the modern concept. As a result of their inherent maneuverability, acceleration, and high-speed abilities, skill and physical strength are both required to operate a snowmobile. Snowmobile injuries and fatalities are high compared to those caused by on-road motor vehicle traffic. Losing control of a snowmobile could easily cause extensive damage, injury, or death. One such cause of snowmobile accidents is loss of control from a loose grip. If the rider falls off, the loss of control can easily result in the snowmobile colliding with a nearby object, such as a rock or tree. Most snowmobiles are fitted with a cord connected to a kill switch, which would stop the snowmobile if the rider falls off. However, not all riders use this device every time they operate a snowmobile. Swerving off of the path may result in rolling the snowmobile or crashing into an obstacle. In unfamiliar areas, riders may crash into suspended barbed wire or haywire fences at high speeds. Each year, a number of serious or fatal accidents are caused by these factors. Each year, riders are killed by hitting other snowmobiles, automobiles, pedestrians, rocks, trees, or fences, or falling through thin ice. On average, 10 people a year have died in such crashes in Minnesota alone, with alcohol a contributing factor in many cases. In Saskatchewan, 16 out of 21 deaths in snowmobile collisions between 1996 and 2000 were caused by the effects of alcohol. Wrestler Lindsay Durlocker died in 2011 following surgery for a broken sternum he sustained in a snowmobile accident. Fatal collisions with trains can also occur when a snowmobile operator engages in the illegal practice of rail riding, riding between railroad track rails over snow-covered sleepers. Inability to hear the sound of an oncoming train over the engine noise of a snowmobile makes this activity extremely dangerous. Collision with large animals such as moose and deer, which may venture onto a snowmobile trail, is another major cause of snowmobile accidents. Most often such encounters occur at night or in low visibility conditions when the animal could not be seen in time to prevent a collision. Also, even when successful, a sudden maneuver to miss hitting the animal could still result in the operator losing control of the snowmobile. A large number of snowmobile deaths in Alaska are caused by drowning. Because of the cold weather in many parts of Alaska, the rivers and lakes are generally frozen over during certain times of the year in winter. People who ride early or late in the season run the risk of falling through weak ice, and heavy winter clothing can make it extremely difficult to escape the cold water. While a snowmobile is heavy, it also distributes its weight at a larger area than a standing person, so a driver who has stopped his vehicle out on the ice of a frozen lake can go through the ice just by stepping off the snowmobile. The next leading cause of injury and death is avalanches, which can result from the practice of highmarking, or driving a snowmobile as far up a hill as it can go. During the 2018-2019 season, 7 snowmobilers in the United States were killed. Avalanche safety education is critical for those accessing the backcountry. Risks can be reduced through education, proper training, appropriate gear, attention to published avalanche warnings, and avoiding drinking alcohol. In some areas of western U.S., organizations provide avalanche training, some of which is free. It is recommended that snowmobile riders wear a helmet and a snowmobile suit. The environmental impact of snowmobiles has been the subject of much debate. Governments have been reacting slowly to noise and air pollution, partly because of lobbying from manufacturers and snowmobilers. For instance, in 1999, the Canadian government adopted the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, 1999, but the set of rules governing pollution emissions for off-road vehicles was only released in January 2005. In another example of regulation, only 4-stroke snowmobiles are allowed in Yellowstone National Park since a bylaw was recently passed to minimize CO2 emissions and noise. In Yellowstone, snowmobiles account for 80% of total hydrocarbon emissions and 50% of carbon monoxide emissions in the winter. This is just less than 2% and 1% respectively of the overall annual pollution within the park. Snowmobiles are only allowed to be ridden on the unplowed roads used in the summer, and riding off the roads is prohibited. This accounts for less than 1% of the park area. Since the invention of snowmobiles, isolated communities of northern North America have always had a demand for them. However, the early snowmobiles' designs were not economical or functional enough for the harsh environment of northern North America. Joseph Armand Bombardier started producing the Ski-Doo in 1959 at the request of a priest. The priest had asked Bombardier to make an economical and reliable means of winter travel. The ski-doo greatly changed life in northern North America's isolated communities, where ski-doo replaced sled dogs by the end of the 1960s. The ski-doo also greatly improved communication between isolated communities. Snowmobiles are also called snow machines in some areas of Alaska.